back to the Left Library, your home for simplified political theory. Today, we're diving into a concept from one of the most influential thinkers on the global economy, Samir Amin, and his law of worldwide value. This theory is essential for understanding how capitalism operates on a global scale and how it creates unequal power dynamics between nations. In today's world, the economy is global, but not every country benefits equally. Rich countries in the global north continue to prosper, while many in the global south struggle with poverty and dependency. Why is that? Samir Amin, a Marxist economist, offers an explanation of his theory of the law of worldwide value. Understanding this concept helps us to see how capitalism creates a system where wealth is concentrated in a few powerful nations, while others are kept in a cycle of exploitation. Amin's law of worldwide value is a theory that explains how global capitalism systematically benefits the rich countries, what we call the core, at the expense of the poorer, peripheral countries. He argues that the value created by workers in the global south is systematically underpriced, while the goods and services produced in the global north are sold at a much higher value. This creates an unequal flow of wealth, where the core nations keep getting richer and the periphery is left dependent. So how does this system work in practice? In simple terms, the core countries, think of places like the US, Europe or Japan, import cheap raw materials and labour from the periphery, meaning poor countries like Africa, Latin America and parts of Asia. These materials are then turned into finished goods which are sold at a much higher price back to the global south. The value added in production largely benefits the corporations and the workers in the core, while the workers in the periphery receive far less for their labour and resources. This process reinforces unequal exchange, where the real value created in the global south is siphoned off to enrich the core. According to Amin, this is not an accident, but a feature of how capitalism functions globally. Amin's theory goes further by explaining why peripheral countries often remain underdeveloped. He argues that global capitalism requires these imbalances to sustain itself. Peripheral nations are kept in a state of dependency, supplying cheap labour and raw materials, but they can never fully industrialise or develop their own economies in a way that would allow them to escape this cycle. This creates a system of unequal development, where the wealth generated in the periphery is drained to sustain the higher wages, better infrastructure and advanced industries of the core. As long as this system remains, the gap between the rich and the poor nations continues to grow. So, what's the solution? Amin proposed a radical idea called delinking. He argued that for countries in the global south to truly develop, they would need to distance themselves from the global capitalist system. By focusing on domestic production and self-reliance, countries could begin to break free from dependency on the core nations. This would involve rejecting the idea that development means copying the Western model of capitalism. Amin believed that by delinking from the global market and focusing on national development strategies, peripheral countries could protect their economies, increase self-sufficiency, and build industries that serve their own populations rather than the interests of global capitalism. Amin's law of worldwide value is still relevant today, as we continue to see growing inequality between wealthy and poor nations. The global capitalist system, driven by profit, still relies on the exploitation of cheap labour and resources from the global south. Understanding Amin's theory helps us to see why simply participating in the global economy is not enough to lift these countries out of poverty. For activists, policymakers, and anybody interested in creating a more just world, Amin's work reminds us that we need to think critically about the global economic system and look for alternatives that prioritise the needs of people over profit. So, what's your take on Amin's theory? Do you think that delinking is a realistic solution, or is there another way to create a more equal global system? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and if you want to dive deeper into theories like this, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content from the Left Library, your home of simplified political theory.